So MrBeast just hit 500 million subscribers. If we take a look at this graph right here, you can see that it's been taking a little longer each time he reaches another 100 million. So that begs the question, when and how will he hit a billion subscribers?
Oh my god!
In order to find out, we must first talk about the many different strategies that he could do to reach that goal quickly. And one of those is languages. Mandarin, Spanish, and English are the most spoken languages in the world. But since YouTube is banned in China, one of the largest linguistic populations in the world is inaccessible. VPN users exist, but that contribution is entirely minimal. And within a country like China itself, there are dozens of dialects that are tracing back to different provinces and regions, which is what we call a multilingual country. And it is almost impossible to cover every single one of them through subtitles. YouTubers have started investing in dub actors, and even this strategy has its own limits. Each language requires a group of voice actors, translators, audio mixers, and script adaptation because, well, some phrases are just not meant to be literal. Covering every single language would mean that you're spending more cash and effort, but this doesn't really guarantee instant success. One of the reasons why the journey to 200 million was the fastest was because of the Spanish audio track. It introduced the popular language to the channel, and paired that with a couple viral shorts, it made sense that he was able to pierce that goal quickly. But he's running out of spoken languages to translate. We already know that in order to relate to others, one of the most common ways to do it is through understanding what a person is trying to convey. What if there's an approach where you don't have to spend anything and you only need yourself for this to work? Well, that is the nonverbal communication, which are movements that can express meaning faster than words ever could, 30 milliseconds to be exact. In psychology, this is called kinesics, and the most natural way to deliver a message is through body language and facial expressions. That is basically the same strategy that Mr. Bean used back in the 90s. If we want an example from YouTube, Monster School did the same thing, and since they barely use a dialogue, there wasn't any language barrier to begin with. Nonverbal communication isn't only effective with non-English speakers, but it's also effective for infants, and as we all know, that's generally his target demographic. Babies tend to understand body language and emotional tones at just 8 months old. This is important as most of the top YouTube shorts we see nowadays basically post nonverbal content, and even MrBeast himself started doing this too. I believe that this approach, if taken too far, will lead to the silent era of YouTube. That's why this only works with YouTube Shorts, because his long-form videos are visually overstimulating. So obviously if you pair that with nonverbal cues, it just wouldn't work. But another way that we can break the language barrier is through AI assistance. And I know this sounds controversial, but hear me out. Over the past few years, AI has evolved faster than anyone could have imagined, to the point that it can now generate videos, images, and high-quality audio. So it's realistic to think that AI dubbing will become widely adopted across the internet. In fact, YouTube has a beta feature where AI replaces the creator's voice with text-to-speech. Instagram took it further by replicating the creator's actual voice.
Views will increase tenfold because now you can dub your reels in different languages with one click.
It's actually getting a little better. Instead of paying a team to dub in 20 languages, AI could just do it for him. But I'd argue that this is more expensive. You need to train an AI to be absolutely perfect in accents, dialects, and slangs in one language, and repeat that for thousands of others. On top of that, a typical MrBeast video has hundreds of contestants. Couldn't AI realistically handle all these voices and still sound natural? And you can't really replicate someone's voice without the consent. That runs into data privacy laws. So unless YouTube warns creators about voice cloning like Instagram, or MrBeast somehow gets permissions from every single of its contestant, this plan is essentially ineffective. Still, if it actually works, you might even reach a billion by 2030. With how MrBeast has been publicly open about AI, it wouldn't be crazy to say that he'll use one to upload as many shorts as he wanted. As many would like to call it, AI slop. It's even possible that he could upload fully AI-generated content as long as it doesn't involve charity. I mean, that's his brand, so we can't fake that.
Have you ever faked a video?
No.
True. Today, the use of generative AI on art remains to be controversial. Many have already noticed that he has used AI in his thumbnails. What's stopping him from typing a couple sentences into a prompt to generate a shot for a long-form video? After all, he already did it in one of his recent videos. This now indicates a real possibility of him mixing CGI, real footage, and AI-generated shots in ways that the audience doesn't notice. The formula for its long-form videos are actually simple to understand. MrBeast has been doing the same thing for years. You introduce a concept, and if it works, you raise the stakes. He's already done a video for 2,000 people. What's stopping him from grabbing 10,000 people into a random box for $10 million? I mean, what's stopping him from pulling every name into one giant event? A video that is so culturally important that missing it just feels wrong. In order to achieve this goal, the videos may even need to be an hour long, multiple hours long. The longer someone stays inside of a story, the stronger the emotional attachment, the stronger the memory, and the people are more likely to come back. Parasocial relationship. When you see a participant cry, break down, or show exactly how desperate they are, you start rooting for them. The tension between real pain and competition is exactly what creates a hyper-reality. It feels scripted, maybe some parts are, but the reactions are genuine. Jimmy is merely a host, as the contestants are a part of a documentary and responsible for how the video is gonna run. That's what Jimmy has been aiming for years, trying to master the art of storytelling. And when he perfects it, not only he'll break the language barrier for shorts, but he'll introduce an emotional relationship through his videos. I saw this video made by Hoser on the similar topic. He concluded that an African channel will be the first one to reach 1 billion subscribers. And you know what? Africa is pretty important as it contains about 200 million of English speakers around the continent. They're expected to see a significant internet growth over the next decade. Matter of fact, GSMA reported that 91% of Africans now live within the range of mobile broadband networks, those being the 3G, 4G, and 5G cell towers. And about 63% of Africans live within the coverage but do not actually use the mobile internet. As satellite providers become more accessible, millions of people could be waiting to discover its content for the very first time. That's not really a small variable when we're talking about the growth at this scale. But before we get to the numbers, let's clarify something important. 1 billion subscribers does not mean 1 billion individual people. A single person can own multiple accounts and subscribe to the same channel more than once. There's not really a limit on how many accounts that person can have, and on top of that, not every subscriber is actually active. He has 500 million subscribers, yet only 1/5 of those actively watches his content, so it doesn't really need 1 billion people. He needs 1 billion YouTube accounts. This is the current bar graph that we have. The mean across these 4 data points are about 354 days per 100 million. Almost a year. He needs about 495 million more subscribers. Multiply that out and you get 1,752 days, landing somewhere in April 2031. But that's only 4 data points, and it assumes a linear growth. But the more the market you have already captured, the harder it is to acquire new subscribers. So I went deeper. I collected 30 months of data from late of 2023 all the way to June 2026. His peak was around 28 million subscribers in a single month, June of 2024, which I genuinely thought was impossible at his size. If I had to guess, 30 million per month is the absolute ceiling. Compared to his growth from late of 2025 to early this year, he averaged at just around 5.4 million per month. The values that kept appearing consistently throughout the dataset were 7 million, 6 million, and 8 million, which puts the mean at around 7.79 million, making it the current monthly average baseline for the channel. I had a couple scenarios in my mind. The best case scenario is the 15 million per month. This assumes that everything that we have discussed here gets immediately implemented the moment this video goes live. The AI tools, the non-verbal shorts, the mega collabs, Africa's internet growth, all of it. 15 million in a month is already rare for a channel. Doing it consistently is a different level entirely. He'll reach it by April of 2029. Then there's a realistic case, 7.79 million per month. If he maintains his current average, keeps doing what he does, and makes little to no dramatic improvements, he'll reach it by October of 2031. Then there's the optimistic case, 10.2 million per month. As the channel grows, his monthly average grows with it. He'll reach it by 2030. Then there's the plateau case, 3 million per month. It's crazy to say that this is the worst case scenario for him, but considering how big his channel is and how he keeps making bigger videos, this is what I believe the realistic worst case scenario for him. He'll reach it in 165 months, April of 2040. However, these are still linear growth, so to make it more realistic, I made this. As the YouTube market saturates, the growth starts to feel stagnant. By the time he reaches 600 million subscribers, it's reasonable to assume that slow growth becomes unavoidable. Every account on YouTube could theoretically follow him, but what's left are the people who are democratically unqualified. The wrong audience, the wrong age, the wrong language. However, you might have noticed a tiny little bump at the end. This is at 900 million subscribers, and I assume at this point that he's going to receive a boost or a hype because he's nearing a billion. YouTube will look completely different from what it is today, so all of these are still speculative by nature. But the path to a billion isn't one thing, it's the accumulation of a lot of small things. The question was never really get if he's gonna reach a billion, it was always when, and honestly, how long he's willing to keep going.